Who's your brother fine ass smashing?
Rock. This business makes for strange bedfellows, right, baby?
When it comes to brothers in the Power universe, there's always a common theme. It started with Ghost and Tommy very early on, where Angela and Holly changed the dynamic. They also disagreed on how to deal with certain situations, how to run their operation, and they even went as far as trying to kill each other. The same goes for Diamond and Jannard. When Diamond came out of prison, very similar to Ronnie, he wanted to run things his way, and then we saw the two brothers at odds on how to run the CBI. We've also seen Drew and Kane fight in Ghost, and even when they had literally just buried Lorenzo, the talk of power and control began pretty much straight away. With Ronnie and Unique, it feels very similar, but it also feels a lot more dark. There's tension in every single scene between them. Even if they do have a lot of love for each other, there is a lack of trust and a lot of mind games, especially from Ronnie's side, and it is going to lead to this eventual showdown we knew was going to happen sooner or later. So in this video, we're going to be breaking down Ronnie versus Unique, why there can only be one man standing, who that could be and why, as well as the implications. We're also going to take a look at a couple of other death predictions for Raising Kanan Season 3. Now, we all knew the moment Ronnie came home the game was about to change. Instantly you felt the tension between the two brothers. I think Unique does have a lot of love for Ronnie, but I don't necessarily think that he's happy that he's out, because he knows what he's like. There's no reasoning with someone like Ronnie who's just set in his own way. The writers also introduced him watching TV, along with a few more TV references, saying he loves watching stories at night, and I do think the writers know what they're doing with a constant nod to TV. There was even one with Marvin in episode 4, they're teasing a certain character. But with Ronnie and Unique, you knew instantly that this was eventually going to lead to a showdown between the two. But let's take a look at this from both their perspectives, because it will give us a better understanding of how they're thinking and how they feel. With Ronnie, he's been in prison for 3 years, and he left his operation in the hands of his baby brother. As he said, he made him the CEO. He put deals in place with high post, had soldiers on the corners, and no doubt he had a well-run operation in place, either working for Dean, Snaps, or maybe both. We do know that he made money for Snaps in the past, so potentially Snaps could have been his early connect, but he's now retired, and I'll get to Snaps and Pop's role in a bit more detail later on. But instead of coming out to work and his operation thriving, or at least in the same position as it used to be, Ronnie came home to no crew. There's nobody posted up on the streets as they drove through Queens. There's no product and no connect, because Dean cut Unique off, where he then found himself out in New Jersey. On top of that, he's had to come home and crash at his baby brother's place with his girl and kid. And for someone like Ronnie who was once a king in the streets, that would definitely hurt his pride and ego. We also don't know what he was like 3 years ago when he was out on the streets, but he looks very old school and very set in his ways. Snaps also called him socially maladjusted, so Snaps knows that he's someone who isn't exactly normal. But in Ronnie's eyes in regards to their business, if they weren't making money on the streets, then he could only think of one person who is Rock, who he considers as an enemy. Now normally he would be right, but she's out the game, for now. If she wasn't, then she definitely would have cleaned up Southside for herself. She would have taken advantage of the power vacuum, albeit it would be slightly different because of the threat of law enforcement. Fortunately for them, she's not in the game, and that is something Unique keeps telling Ronnie. Now let's take a look at this from Unique's point of view. As a younger brother, you look to your older sibling, and when you're younger, you just want to be just like them. You want to make them proud, and Unique did his best under his circumstances. There was this cat and mouse game between him and Rock in both seasons 1 and 2, where there was a lot of foul play from Rock's side, so external factors beyond his control meant he lost a couple of battles. He also lost his right-hand man in Worrell, along with the rest of his crew. So he went into season 3 without his trusted right-hand man, no product, no organization, and no connect. The streets of Queens is also a different playing field because of the Italian mafia's attack. Law enforcement are crawling all over the city, along with an organized crime task force being formed at Howard's precinct. So just like Unique told Quan in episode 4, how Rome wasn't built in a day, they were going to have to be a bit patient. It will take him a while to build back up, and if he is given the time, no doubt Unique does have what it takes to build his empire. That's what Snaps told Ronnie in episode 4. If Unique's saying give him some time to work things out, then he suggests Ronnie do just that, give him time to figure it out. However, as time run out, even though I do feel Unique is right with his approach and how he's looking at the chessboard from a logical standpoint, this is a game which is cutthroat. The right move might be to sit tight and be patient, but the problem is, there is always others wanting your seat at the table, and there are others in the street who aren't as patient as Unique, just like his brother.
While we up and running, making this money yet? While you take your minute, Rock eating our fucking lunch.
In this scene you felt a lot of unease and tension, and at one point, I did feel like Ronnie was about to push the bar down onto Unique and showing him who the man is. You could also tell that Unique felt a little uncomfortable because he knows who his brother is better than anyone. He's always straight to business, but he was also poking Unique and feeling his brother out to see where he was when it came to Rock. So the minute there was pin drop silence to him saying they should have taken out Rock back in the day, not only did that prompt him to follow Unique, where he caught him with Rock, but he also began to plant the seed in Panessa's head that Unique might have a side piece because he knew his brother did. And you can tell he loves stirring up trouble, but you also have to bear in mind what the older Kanan's narration said at the end of episode 4.
I never like being around niggas who talk. Because if they gapping off about some other fool's business, you could be damn sure they talking the same shit about yours.
In my breakdown for episode 4, I mentioned what was the difference between Dean talking and Ronnie talking. I think from Dean's standpoint, he was just letting Unique know out of courtesy and telling him to keep his brother in line, because if he doesn't, then he'll have to deal with the situation using violence. But this shit was double standards from Ronnie. We all know the number one rule in the streets is don't snitch, but don't talk about other people's business either. Don't get involved in anybody else's affairs, especially when it comes to your brother.
Who's your brother fine-ass smashing?
Rock.
So imagine a situation where Tommy told Tasha that Ghost was in bed with Angela. That would be pretty fucked up. But just imagine if he told Tasha Ghost was changing because he's got a side piece, just like Ronnie told Panessa or Snaps. So Ronnie was 100% wrong in this situation. He came to Snaps because they did business back in the day, and they do have a lot of respect for each other. You can tell there's a lot of history in this room, otherwise Snaps wouldn't give Ronnie the time of day. But Ronnie telling Snaps and Pop about Unique being in bed with Rock is a proper shitty move, because the streets do talk, and not only does news travel fast, but people like to add their own spin to it and stir the pot with the truth. Now, with Ronnie opening his mouth about him being in bed with Rock, he definitely won't be happy. He's already told him that he ain't shit at the end of episode 4, which definitely would have hurt coming from his younger brother, and had it been someone else telling him the same shit, he would have ended him right there and then. But you could tell, Ronnie had to hold himself back, where he then took his shit out on Dean for telling Ronnie that he came looking for work. But when Unique finds out that Ronnie was doing the exact same shit with Snaps and Pop, it's game time. These two brothers are gonna go at it, where we're gonna find out who comes out on top, which I personally think will be Ronnie, but just for the short term. The reason why I do think it will be Ronnie is because there's a lot we need to see, and there's also a lot we need to learn about his character. We know he's going to be taking Kanan under his wing by giving him his first brick, introducing him to Snaps and Pop, but also because he'll know there is no better way to attack and hurt Rock than using Kanan. If you poison the one person that means the world to Rock against her, then that's the way you can hurt Rock, which is a very similar move to how Kanan used Tariq to get back at Ghost. So maybe when we were watching Power, we were watching history repeat itself. Now it also puts Rock against Ronnie and gives her a huge new threat to deal with. We've already seen 2 seasons of Unique versus Rock, and I personally want to see a new threat give us something to think about. We're all wondering what will push her back in the game. Why will Rock put a gun in her hand and be forced back in? And you do have to feel losing control of Kanan again to Ronnie could play a part, amongst a few other factors. So let's see how Rock begins to deal with the threat of Ronnie Mathis. Now, when it comes to some other death predictions, I do put Lulu and Famous up there as well, although I do think it is a little too soon for both. I can see Lou continuing on this downward spiral, even if he has Cafe Vu. I did mention in my episode 3 breakdown, Lou opening up about D-Wiz, then later seeing him in his hallucination. It could very well be a foreshadow for the long-awaited appearance of D-Wiz's brother, who I still feel is the best bet for Breeze, which has been my prediction since season 1. So when and if he is introduced, you can't tell me he won't be thinking about revenge. He'll definitely want to know who killed his brother. Whether Kanan would give him that information, I'm not too sure. But let's not forget, Kanan did kill his own son Sean in Power. He also killed his cousin Jukebox, who at this moment in time, he has a lot of love for. So we definitely can't rule it out, especially with Ronnie set to take him under his wing, as well as poisoning his mind at the same time. Now with Famous, we all know what his problem is. He's not built like Kanan. We already saw him unplug the phone the minute Kanan left the crib, and I feel like if he starts talking under pressure, he'll have to be dealt with. We also have to remember Kanan did name his son Sean. Whether it's because of Famous, whose actual name is Sean Figueroa, I think we can make a good case to say it is. So let's see what happens with Famous, because I can't see him working under someone like Ronnie when Kanan does eventually go under his wing. An alternative storyline for Famous is he ends up behind bars for talking, self-snitching, or just being picked up in the streets, because I do feel like law enforcement will pick up a win or two in season 3, and Famous and Howard are high up on my list when it comes to law enforcement getting a win. But with all of that being said, drop all your thoughts down below in the comment section for an episode where we're going to see a showdown between Unique and Ronnie, and no doubt maybe a death or 2. So drop all your thoughts and predictions down below in the comment section, and as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.